Hello and welcome to this lecture. Here we will be covering some of the basic elements of Excel. We will discuss basic terminology, how to enter data. We will use autocomplete, select, edit, delete cell contents, adjust columns, rows, and width, hide and unhide rows and columns, and use paste versus special paste. In this sheet, you will notice that I'm in cell A1. Excel uses a certain language, and I will be using that language throughout this particular course. Each row is made up of numbers. We can adjust these rows by dragging when we see this arrow, and we can adjust the width of the columns, which are all letters, by dragging. Each cell has a location, a geographic location, if you will, and that is captured in this block right here, cell A1 or cell D3. These are important because later on, when we're typing in formulas, we will need to know where Excel needs to look to calculate the formulas that we require. Another key element to understand about Excel is that we are in a workbook. And a workbook is made up of various sheets. We were in sheet 1 earlier, and now we are in sheet 2. Each sheet, Excel can have multiple sheets, and we can actually link these different sheets together, and I'll show you how to do that later on in this course. Right up here we have our tabs and our ribbons. I would like to point your attention to the formulas and the data tab. Later on in this course, we'll be putting in formulas, and you can do that either by the click method, in other words, clicking on these formulas, or you can type in these formulas. Some other key elements to understand is you can have these rows or columns, and you can also hide these, and you do this by highlighting a row or column, right-clicking, and pressing hide. That will hide those two columns, and that will mean that when you have a lot of information and you only want to see one piece of information, that's the function you use. When you want to unhide them, you highlight them, you right-click, and you press unhide. Okay, so let's get into some of the fun stuff, which is inserting data. I'm going to start off by putting the number 1 in cell A1. And I want to show you some tricks that Excel uses. If I had 1 and I wanted to type in 2, 3, and go down all the way to 10, one way I could do that is type in 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the way down to 10. Well, Excel helps us do this another way, and I'm going to show you by typing in cell B1 the same number. And then what I'm going to do is go to the corner of the cell, hold it down, and drag it. What you will find is that Excel copies that cell down. Okay, but we don't want it to copy that cell down. We want it to say 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we type in 1, we type in 2, and we do the same thing. We highlight both of these cells and we drag this down, and watch what happens. Excel automatically recognizes that we want a pattern and follows through with that pattern. I'm going to do the same thing with January. When I drag it down, you'll notice Excel notices a pattern and automatically fills in. This is called autocomplete. Now, let's say I wanted this pattern to continue. I could hold my mouse in the corner and double click, and you will notice what will happen. Excel auto-completes for me. This is called the autocomplete. Okay. Now, what might happen is you might find yourself needing to copy and paste. We can do this in various ways. Let's say I wanted January to December, and I wanted in column E. I could hover over column D, click it down, and drag it across and paste it down. Another way I could do this is to right click, roll down to copy, press copy, click it in F, double click, and press paste. Another way of doing the same thing, remember there's the click method and then there's the typing method, is to highlight these cells, hold down Command, hold down C, just press C, excuse me, and that means it is copied. Then click in the column that I would like it to be in, hold down Command, and then press V, and that will copy this to there. So let's look at what we've covered so far. We've looked at some basic terminology. We've entered data. We've done autocomplete. We've adjusted column widths, column heights, and we've pasted. I'm going to talk now about pasting special and how to delete, edit cell contents. Let's do the paste special. Now, what we've been doing right now is pasting. We haven't been paste specialing. To paste special, and I'll show you what this looks like. If I right click and I say paste special, it will give me a variety of options. It will ask me, do I want to paste these as a picture, as a PDF, as a value, as a text? And the reason why this is important is because later on when we have formulas, you will notice that when we paste something that we haven't pasted special, it will give us an error message. So let me demonstrate that for a moment. Let me demonstrate that. I'm going to show you the sum formula. We're going to cover this in more detail later on, but I want to show you something. I've summed, in other words, I've added all of these answers together. Now let's say I wanted to copy this 55 right there. Now you'll notice that this cell, I've copied it and I've pasted it and it gives me 0, but I actually wanted to give me 55. So that's because I've pasted it and I haven't paste specialed it. If I want 55 to be there, I can right click, copy, click in the cell that I wanted, right click again, paste special, and now it will ask me, do I want this to be a formula? Do I want this to be a value, a comment? I want this to be a value. And so I press OK, and then 55 comes in. That's the difference between paste and paste special. The last thing I was going to talk about is what happens when we want to clear or edit these cells. When I click in now this has been paste special as a picture. You will notice I can't click, yes, I want to move it here, right there. This has been captured as a picture, as a PDF, right? Because I paste specialed it. Okay. But let's say I misspelled January, and I wanted to edit it. The minute I highlight a cell and type anything in, it's going to delete the contents of that cell. And so I have to go up here in this column over here, in this field box, and edit, and then press enter, and that will update the cell. If I wanted to clear the cell, I could easily press delete. But if I have multiple cells and I press delete, only the first cell will delete. And so what I do is I right click and I go down to clear contents. When I click that, it clears all of these contents for me. Okay, so let's look. We've done our basic terminology. We've entered a bit of data. We've used autocomplete. We've selected, edit, deleted cell contents. We've adjusted column widths, hidden rows, and pasted specials. In our next lecture, we'll be talking about formatting cells and figuring out how to change what they look like based on their values. I look forward to seeing you in the next class.